This is one of the most amazing images ever captured on film. It's called Earthrise. It was taken in December of 1968 by the crew of Apollo 8. The world had never seen itself from this vantage point. Apollo 8 was the first spaceship really to leave Earth's orbit. Before that, we were going like 200 miles into space. This is 238,000 miles into space. They didn't walk on the moon, but it was still spectacular. And the astronaut who took this picture died last week. I missed it because of, your phone is always exploding with the news of the minute. This kind of got overlooked. Bill Anders died at the age of 90 in a plane crash, actually, a plane that he was piloting. Became very successful in business, by the way, but way back when, he was an astronaut, still in his 30s, when he joined up with Jim Lovell and Frank Borman, the commander for Apollo 8. And when they saw the Earth as they were orbiting the moon, they weren't expecting that. And they grabbed the camera and didn't realize what they had until they got back home. But they were thrilled every moment of the way. There's Jim Lovell, I believe, looking out the window, looking through that little... I love this. I absolutely love this. Now, the astronauts surprised the world, shocked the world, not only with that photograph, but with a special Christmas Eve message. Yeah, this happened December 24th, 1968. Nobody expected this, but they read from the Bible, and it was beautiful.
For all the people back on Earth, the crew of Apollo 8 has a message that we would like to send to you. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And from the crew of Apollo 8, we close with good night, good luck, a Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you on the good earth.
Isn't that so powerful, so beautiful? And the world, the country loved it, the world loved it, and when Apollo 8 got home, they were treated as the heroes they were. Ticker tape parades, you name it. They were everywhere until people eventually, forgot and moved on. But 1968 was a terrible year. The assassination of RFK, of Martin Luther King. War was raging in Vietnam. It was such an awful thing. But Apollo 8, in a way, saved the entire year. As one random person put it in a letter sent to the crew, "Thank you, Apollo 8. You saved 1968. I just love that it was going downhill, but they kind of made it a winner in the end. Isn't that great? But I'm worried about 2024. That's kind of what I'm getting at. How are we going to unite? Who's going to save 2024? Because it looks incredibly bleak. It really does at times. And not only, even if Trump wins, I want him to win, right? To unify. Is it possible that everybody could unify, that he could shock the world, that he could win blue states like New York, like New Jersey? These are actually in play. And I think he can. Look, what sane person doesn't think we should have a border? What sane person thinks that children should be sexualized, right? And what about peace through strength? Doesn't that sound like a policy that everybody can kind of believe in? I think so. And I know he's divisive. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but I have a feeling, I have a prayer that he could unite this country, actually. And we'll all be shocked on November 5th. Could be over by 9:05. Overly optimistic, but Carrie Lake, a couple of years ago, called it. And, she kind of had the same feeling that I did, although we're a few years apart. Take a look.
And I predict at the end of 2028, when you leave office, second term, the whole country's going to love you. They're going to figure it out.
The whole country's going to love you at the end of 2028. How about in 2024? Could it happen? Look, we desperately need it. There was a time not too long ago where Democrats and Republicans thought the American flag was just A-OK, not the symbol of white supremacy or racism or colonialism in some sort of bad way, right? And there was a time, I would say maybe less than 20 years ago, 5 years, 10 years, that a trans flag at the White House hung actually illegally. You cannot have this flag more prominent as it is in this photo than the American flag. That happened at the Biden White House. I think no matter what your orientation, no matter who you are, this should be reprehensible. And it certainly isn't American. Literally, it's not American. So we're coming up on Flag Day. You know about Flag Day? Yeah. What kind of Flag Day is it going to be? The only flags that I see celebrated, the Palestinian flag, the pro-terror flag, the gay pride flag, the Black Lives Matter flag. The American flag, you know, it could be burned. It could be, you know, nobody seems to be all that into it, at least when you watch the fake news, right? Or when you watch our Department of Justice. It's pretty wild that Enrique Tarrio, who was the not racist, not white supremacist leader of the Proud Boys, who did not engage in insurrection, okay, that he was arrested by this government in 2020 for burning a Black Lives Matter flag. Can you believe that? In the middle of 2020, in the middle of those riots, they arrested him for a black, and they threw him in federal prison for months in a lead up to trying to throw him into federal prison for years, where he is right now, but I think that could be reversed. That is obscene, truly is. And I think the gay pride situation and the focus on sexualizing children and pretending, have you seen this, that some people, if they ride their car on the street where there's a gay pride flag painted, that is somehow a hate crime. People are really being charged with that. I think that's a crime, right? The celebrate, it's actually a sin when you think about it, right? Pride, you're not supposed to have pride. But this is where we are. You know, there was a time where if a Secretary of Transportation said something like this, they would arrest him, or at least he'd have to resign by the close of business. But no, this is how you create buzz about being the next president of the United States.
I also hope that most Americans can understand the difference between a flag that symbolizes, love and acceptance and signals to people who have sometimes feared for their safety that they're going to be okay, and insurrectionist symbology. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, insurrectionist symbology. The gay pride flag is beautiful, but flags that are part of our history for over, well, I think all the way back to George Washington, that heaven flag with the tree on it, it was there on January 6th, okay? But that doesn't mean it was a symbol of insurrection. It wasn't an insurrection, but they've canceled that flag. They've canceled it. You can't fly it anymore. Literally, city halls, they had it all over the place. Nobody really thought too much about it and knew what it was. Here's something else. On January 6th, guess what else was there? The American flag. You know they're poised to redesign this, right? We are getting closer and closer. The 13 colonies, what do they have in those colonies? Slaves, right? Does that render it somehow offensive all of the sudden? This game they're playing with culture, with everything, including the flag. You know, Carrie Lake, she's coming on the show later, and I've been thinking about some stuff, and she's running for the Senate, and she's all over Arizona, going to big events, and, they like her there, and she's talking about ideas. It's pretty amazing, though, the fake news. This picture right here, this event, they said, well, she was somehow endorsing white supremacy because somewhere in that room was a Confederate flag. Somewhere in that room was a Confederate. Hundreds and hundreds of stories about how she was within 100 feet of a Confederate flag that I can't find in that photograph. That is pretty absurd. And you know what, America, media, you're not so innocent when it comes to the Confederate flag, right? Who liked the Dukes of Hazzard? I like those guys a little bit. They didn't mean no harm, right? Okay, we can't fly the Confederate flag anymore. I don't even want to fly the Confederate flag anymore, okay? And I've seen all the episodes, but being a little bit ridiculous, totally ridiculous. That's what America is, ridiculous. And afraid of a bunch of people who now run things on the internet. Oh, internet criticism, can't have that. But somehow you can have this. Pete Buttigieg, here's his husband. This, I believe, should be an arrestable offense. This, I believe, should end Pete Buttigieg's career.
I pledge my heart. I pledge my heart. To the rainbow. To the rainbow. Of the not-so-typical gay camp. Of the not-so-typical gay camp. One camp. One camp. Full of pride. Full of pride. Indivisible. Indivisible. With affirmation and equal rights for all. With affirmation and equal rights for all. Watch your heads.
Pledging to a gay flag is, it's weird, okay? It's not right. That adult male hanging around with those kids talking about sexuality is weird and wrong, okay? It's not right. And it's funny. Yeah, you feel a little bit, oh boy, can I really say this on television? Yeah, you can. You can say it. You can say it, and you should say it, and you should say it wildly, because they are counting on us being somewhat intimidated, somewhat uncomfortable. All right, so where does that leave us? 2024. What a mess. And where are we going to be in 2026? Think about 2026. So you know what that is? That's the 250th anniversary of America. I think they call it the quincentennial or the semi-quincentennial, something like that. And you remember the 1976 bicentennial? Oh my God, it was the greatest thing ever. What is this going to look like? Nobody's even getting ready for it, okay? Are they going to be flying the American flag? It could be a total disaster because there's no more national pride. We got to bring it back, and I think we will. Stay with us. Much more on this stuff. I'll be right back.